Here we go.
We're good? Okay. I would like to welcome everybody tonight to the Township of Nipissing Committee of Adjustment meeting. We'll start with disclosure of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, we'll move on to our first resolution, which would be to adopt the minutes of the meeting held March 29th. So if I could have a mover and seconder, Councillor Marchant and Councillor Kirky. Thank you. I will read the resolution. It's number COAR 2022-14, moved by Councillor Marchant, seconded by Councillor Kirky, that we adopt the Committee of Adjustment minutes of March 29th, 2022. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Number 3 on our agenda is a minor variance application. Applicant property owner David and Maria Thiessen. I think you've all received the information to grant the requested variance as per the sketch prepared to increase the maximum height of an accessory structure from 4.5 meters to 5 meters for an 18 by 288 meter by 12 by 192 meter proposed garage. If you've read through the report, does anybody have any questions for John Paul?
Just on this map, John Paul, when you drive in, it's going to be to the left of the existing driveway?
The driveway comes in from the north, where it says existing dwelling in that drawing.
Yeah.
That's where the driveway comes in behind the house. And then it kind of like the downward reverse J shape to the garage. The driveway comes from the
Okay,
north.
because there's no land prep done at the moment that I saw anyway.
Oh, wait, yeah, when you went down there. Well, if he's probably waiting to see it.
Okay. I just, on this drawing, if you say that the road comes in from the north. Oh, I see. Okay, now I understand. Okay, I had the map turned around here.
Okay.
So he's building off towards the escarpment.
Yeah, the south, if you see that big rock when you get there, he's going right in there. And
Okay,
then the trees are in front, so I don't think he'll.
no, I don't really see a problem at all. And he's a long way from anyone.
No, exactly.
Not to bother the neighbors. No, that's
No.
for sure.
Not at all, not in the sight lines. You know, the 100 meters, everything is good that way, so. Yes, Councillor Marchant?
No.
Okay. So I need a mover and a seconder to accept this.
I'll move it.
Okay. Paul LaFrance and Councillor Scott. So it's number COAR 2022-15, moved by Paul LaFrance, seconded by Councillor Scott. Application A 2022-03, applicant property owners David and Maria Thiessen. Decision to grant the requested variance as per the sketch prepared by Callan and Dietz, Ontario Land Surveyors, received June 14, 2022, to increase maximum height of an accessory structure from 4.5 meters to 5 meters for a proposed garage. Conditions that the applicant obtains all necessary permits for the work referenced in this application. The reasons for the decision: the proposed use is compatible with other uses in the area. I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you all. Pass that around. Okay, just John Paul's going to bring that around so that we can all sign it. And is there a waiting period on this one, John Paul?
That'd be a 20-day waiting period, so On that
Okay.
Tuesday, I think August the 2nd, you can apply for your building permit there.
There's one here. Oh, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Trying to add to my question. 400. I've seen any for a while.
Last time, real quickly.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say thank you, guys, ladies.
You're very welcome, and as John Paul said, August, I believe, you can get your building permit, and otherwise, thank you ever so much.
Very well,
And-
thank you.
You're welcome. We'll
Yeah, I'll
move-
leave the meeting here now. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We'll move. Adjournment. Okay, a mover and second. Counselor Kirky and Counselor Scott. It's COAR 2022-16, moved by Counselor Kirky, second by Counselor Scott, that the Committee of Adjustment meeting be adjourned at 6:08 PM. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. You can round up. Okay, ready? Okay. 6:30 someplace. Like to welcome everybody here tonight, Tuesday, July 12th, 6:30 PM. I'll ask if there is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Noted, Counselor Scott for his wife. So if you're looking on your agenda, number 2 is a delegation regarding a shore road allowance proposal, and Paul Goodrich is representing the owners, and I believe Andrea Duggan is on, zooming in as we speak. So, Mr. Goodrich, the floor is yours. The podium's there if you want to use it.
That's dangerous, putting a preacher's son behind a pulpit. I shall be brief. Dad used to say that too. Anyway, I'm here tonight representing the owners, Stephen, Doug and Andrea Dickinson. Their family owns the island just offshore from this particular piece of property. They initially purchased it so they would have a guaranteed parking area and a dock facility for access to the island. From doing the survey, though, it became apparent that the access point to the lake that everyone has considered to be public access is actually on their property, including the fire department's access point for filling up the bunker truck. So, you know, obviously they don't want to interfere with that. They would like to, I put it in as a swap, but I know we're going to purchase the shore road allowance. Municipality will purchase the portion from my clients that is necessary operationally for the fire department. The outfitters quite often, I'm well aware, especially when we were doing the survey, many of the outfitters were there to meet clients from Southern Ontario. The municipality has recently purchased and installed, not that recently, but installed the parking area right at the corner of Birch Grove and Sunset Cove Road, so that people do have a safe spot to park and access the lake from there. There is a fish habitat area on the north side of that particular little bay. It's quite a ways over, but it's still probably within 120 meter setback distance. So prior to the transfer of the road, we will hire most likely FRI if they're available to do a study for us to make sure that we're not impacting any of the environmentally sensitive areas that potentially could be on the site. I think it's pretty straightforward. What I've recommended is that perhaps I can meet with Dan McInnes on the site, if anyone from the fire department, or Dan, you're probably on the fire department too, no? Okay, but if anyone's there from the fire department, just so to make sure that we do get what the municipality needs from an operational standpoint. And then because the line on the sketch, I've described it as approximate, just because I don't know the operational requirements of the municipality. I'll leave that to the experts to determine, and we'll put in the survey bars accordingly. Because this will now alienate my client's property from the publicly maintained portion of the road, we are requesting that when we transfer the municipality, that a right-of-way be reserved for access over that land, just guaranteeing access, vehicular access for my clients to the property. And also because we no longer will have frontage on the municipally maintained road, that we would still qualify for a building permit should they ever wish to build on the property in the future. One of the requirements for acquiring the shore road allowance was that we could prove that it had the potential. And so on the sketch, I've shown the setback distances and I've shown a small cottage, 660 square feet roughly, 20 feet by 33 feet and change on the property, and that's without making sort of an L shape to it.
Is that cottage isn't there now, is it?
No,
No,
this
this is-
this was just in order to qualify for a shore road allowance closure. You do need to be able to prove that it has the potential to be a building lot.
Mhm.
So that's all that we were trying to show by putting that on the sketch. But like I say, their main purpose in acquiring this was to acquire a docking site and guarantee parking area for themselves for access to the family cottage that's out on the island.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Now, tonight, this is just an information only, and information we get, staff and planner have looked at it and seem positive, but we will have to have a resolution in the future, and we look forward to a shore road closing application. And then we'll go with that after that. But tonight we can discuss, but there's no resolution tonight. So if you need any more information, this would be the man, and this would be the time to ask. And I know Councillor Moore and I had talked about this on the way up. You mentioned it, like the first question would we put that down as a water access only, or by giving you, how would you do that?
Yeah, I guess technically it will become water access only because it won't have frontage on this maintained road. Initially, we were also looking to acquire the road allowance between the properties to the south, but I understand there are provincial policies with respect to that, even though we are providing an alternate route. And that would have provided the frontage requirement. Even though we may not have the full amount of frontage, I guess one of the other, now that the road comes in right at the south end, there is no opportunity to reserve a little piece of it
Right.
to at least claim we had frontage. So whichever way, and I know the official plan has stated that, building permits can be issued on water access only lots, but I think it's specific only to the west portion of the bay and certain sections of the South River. So that was our concern too, is that we would still, in the future, if they do wish to, that we would qualify in some fashion.
And I know our planner has said there's no red flags, so.
And we plan to provide a memo
Yeah.
tonight that I copied everybody and also as a copy.
And as long as it was deemed to be compliant with the registered right of way, if the municipality did accept that and pass an assumption bylaw, making it part of the municipal road system, of course, it's a moot point, because then we would have frontage, but I don't think it has that status today.
A lot of people use that property, and I think they just assume that it belongs to the township. I mean, you go down there anytime now, there's a ton of people up and swimming on the rocks and that.
Yeah,
It could be
even
a big eye opening. You get a lot of protests if they find out that they're not gonna be allowed to use it.
But it's not our property anymore.
No.
So,
Yeah.
so all they have, you put up a no trespassing sign and they're not gonna be happy. But either way, we don't know the property.
No.
It's going to happen either way.
Yeah, I think even when I walked the property with Mr. Doug and Ms. Dickinson a little while ago, a young couple pulled up with their car and their dog, and they were walking them. And, they said, well, should we say anything? And I said, no, it's okay. They're here now. They're not harming anything. Just, but for now, just let sleeping dogs lie, even though it was running around. But really, there's no harm to be done.
Yeah.
In the winter time, that bay is full.
in the winter time, that is just like the 401 down
Yes,
there.
it's a hole, so.
But they're gonna come more to the right there. We're gonna have the very beginning, so where the fire truck goes down. So we'll be protected, and I mean, it will be a little education.
Well, there's
Yeah.
still a public route there.
Oh, absolutely. Where the fire trucks could come down is where the public access point is during the winter months.
And this way we can secure it for the future use of everyone that's been using it from the township's point
I
of view.
figure once you get to the rocks, that I'm assuming that belongs. to Buckets. And that it'll be. Go there on the weekend, there's 20 people there. So.
Yeah, and as they make more use of the property themselves, and like the mayor says, it will be an education, and, you know, people start to realize that it is private property.
Yep.
And, you know, and not recorded.
Oh, earlier, did you say that the transfer of this thing, did you say purchase? I think it was a purchase.
Yeah, and if we propose this as a straight up swap, but the, you know, the two sizes of the land are a little bit different than each other. Personally, I thought it was worked best just as a swap, but if we're looking at, and I know there's certain rules under the municipal act for how you have to proceed. So if we're simply looking at purchasing the shore road allowance and obtaining a credit or, you know, a transfer of funds from the municipality to my clients for the transfer of Nipissing, it's more or less offsetting, but there still would be a balance one way or the other. Probably in the township's favor, just gauging by the size of the properties.
We always like that. But if there are no other questions, we'll let Mr. Goodrich go, and this will be on the next agenda, I would assume.
Wonderful, and we'll get the formal application. in.
Yep. We'll go from there.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much for your consideration.
Have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Okay. We'll go to staff reports. And we have John Falls here. And if you don't mind looking over that.
Probably have another early.
Next one.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any questions for John Paul? Okay, we'll move on. I can tell you what Dan's been doing. You want to know? He's been working on Birch Grove.
Working hard.
Being in the butt there for about 12 hours a day for I don't know how many days. I know I've run into 3 days in a row. So that's what Dan's doing, and he will be talking to us when we get to the closed session at the end of the meeting. Will is on holidays.
No, he was at soccer tonight. He was
Yes.
back today. He's returned, but he's looking after soccer. for the
Tonight's the last night's soccer, and I'll have something to say about that a little later on. And otherwise, Chris, if there's anything, otherwise you're on closed session as well.
Yeah, I am. Well,
Okay, so then we go to committee reports. Councilman Moore.
Okay, well, we had a Township of Nipissing Recreation Committee meeting on July 4th. I'm assuming that James will speak about that. Then on August the 8th, we had a Nipissing Township Museum Board meeting. The museum manager's display of her mystery artifacts on the July 1st celebrations went over really well. So everybody was pretty pleased about that. Preparing for Pie Day, which will be July 17th from 10 to 2. Everyone in here is invited. Pies and beverage will go for $6. This will be our last Pie Fest. Because the health unit restrictions is, it's just, it's
Restrictive.
It's very restrictive and it's not a fundraiser any longer. So we'll figure something else out for next year. A Heritage Day, August the 20th, we had originally planned to collaborate with the rec committee with the movie night, but they couldn't have movie night for that night. So we'll continue with having our Heritage Day a little later, starting at 2. We're going to have Jeff Burney will be there with presentation on the dams on the South River. We're going to have the blacksmith there. We'll have barbecue. And so that should be interesting. Again, everybody's invited to that one. And we also we'll have the silent auction, and Julian managed to get Gary and Renee White for musicians, so they'll play between 4 and 7. Next was the Fall Festival we discussed and market that will be held on September the 10th. This will be our first fall event, and we'll have local craftspeople, vendors, blacksmith demonstrations, entertainment by the James Houston Band, or a local band. And at the same time, the rec committee will have their trunk sale in the park. So we'll have a lot in that whole corner between the museum and all the way to the park on that day. And that was it for the meeting, getting those 3 things in order. Then we had a cemetery board meeting July the 11th. That was yesterday. We had a couple of members of the South Shore Restoral Snowmobile Club in attendance. We had concerns in the winter over the skidoos passing in front of the cemetery onto the property. They offered to put up some fencing, but I think our vision is to put up a more like an iron fencing, not chain link. But they did offer to assist with paying that, so we'll budget that for next year. And we looked at some strategic planning for the cemeteries, and that was it for that meeting.
Okay. Any questions for Councilor Moore? Sounds busy. I know the health unit, church suppers, everything like that, have just get pounded.
Yeah, it's getting more restrictive,
Can't do it.
to do any kind of fundraising. However, we still could do the strawberries also. We could bake the cakes here and we just put strawberries on it at the museum. So that's an easy one.
That would have been easy.
Yes.
Better speak to Mr. Becker.
Yeah.
Okay, Councilor Martin.
Nothing report. Our June 27th meeting was canceled. Nothing from the vet committee.
Not a problem. And I did know, I talked to Mr. Britton that day and he said it was canceled because we had one at the same time. So, Councilor Kirky.
Nothing until September. The library doesn't meet again until first Monday in September.
You guys meeting the first, we used to meet the last.
So the last meeting, it's a long ways off. So
Yes.
it's like last Monday of September will be our next meeting.
Okay, which brings us to Councilor Scott.
Okay, we had a rec meeting. I don't have the dates, but the year-end soccer is coming on. It's, I believe, this Saturday.
Yes, Saturday.
It's a Saturday. We're now gonna have on August 27th, the spaghetti dinner here. And then in the evening, the movie at the park. So we're still looking for a few volunteers to help clean up and a couple cooks.
I did volunteer. Before you.
Okay, I volunteered.
There's your 2. You got
I
2
need a
there.
couple servers and that, but it'll get done.
Okay.
And we got some good sponsorship for that.
I'll volunteer too.
September the 10th is a trunk sale, which will be held at Heritage Park, so we'll be looking for a couple volunteers for that. And for a lot of people not sure what a trunk sale is, it's basically your yard sale, but you do it on your 10 by 10 spot, which is a charge and a donation to the food bank, which will split between the 2. And it should be a good time because the museum is having an event at the same time. And there's also going to be another one at Command at the same time. So it's all going to be.
Maybe change it. So
Last,
Ron Phillips will contact.
yeah, Ron said he was gonna far as I was concerned, last time I talked to him,
We've had some problems with the rentals. So.
okay. And that's pretty much it from the rec point of view.
Good. Not good, that pretty much it. I'm gonna speak about it in a minute. First, with not having a meeting for a while, we've had an East Home meeting, of course. In fact, we've had 3. I'll give you the abridged version. And if not, I have this 17-page handout. No, pardon me, 32-page handout, 17 if you only read one side. And that you can read all about East Home, Home for the Aged in 2021 in review. So I'll tell you, it's a page turner. In the meantime, we're uncertain whether containment funding will continue beyond June 30th. The great news is they got an increase of 1.75 per diem for level of care. The only problem is food went up about 15%, so we're only 13.25 short. There is minor capital funding. Permanent wage enhancement is through, so PSWs get their $3 forever. And we still have ISIP funding, which is a renovation project for 5.2 million, and an increase with hours of care funding. And the government gave us temporary retention initiative for nurses. And for East Home, that was $58,000 that nurses got one time, basically to keep them. If you've listened lately on the radio, there's an ad for Hearst, the hospital there, and how much they're paying. They started out with registered nurses, now it's RNAs, and I think one was 10, one was 8,000 to go to the hospital at Hearst. So it's really competitive to be a nurse. Systems, we're working through the configurations regarding schedule. They are also, and these are all things that have to be upgraded. They were, when I worked at East Home like 50 years ago, they had the same system, so they're changing it. General ledger, adjusting check printing, pay stubs. We have to run it in a duplicate because a few years ago, the government did the same thing. Didn't do a duplicate, paid a lot of people too much, others not enough. So we're running a double system for 2 pay periods to make sure we don't screw it up. Cameras have been ordered. I don't know about ours here, but we're having sourcing difficulties. We're having trouble getting them, but the cable drops have been added. East Home has, I think we're looking at, let's say 20 here. East Home's looking at 200 cameras for client safety. Okay, gotta get that right. And construction, network wiring is almost complete, only basement left. Ground level windows have been installed. And right now they're running the gas fitter lines. And we had to make our first progress payment, which was $499,000. So we had to bridge finance, that's the next thing, because we didn't get the money from the government yet. So we put it out, then we have to finance that. And we have basically an overdraft. Staffing, we have an increase of hours care. So we continue to recruit and hire all staff meetings. Every staff that's been there, even if they've been there 30 years, there's a new, it's called Fixing the Long-Term Care Act. So every staff has to be educated on this act so that they can fix long-term care. Operational issues, supply chain issues continue. Every month there's a different food that they can't get, whether it's dry cereal, whatever. So what they're doing, they're converting walk-in coolers to freezers so that they can get rid of the 2 rental units we have. But now we're having trouble to get the doors for freezers because they have to be fire doors. And you have to be able to get out. I don't know why, but things like that. We have current PPE levels. We're keeping 1 month now in case we have COVID 7 or 8. And fire chief would like this. We're working with Powassan to prepare an emergency preparedness plan. So our tabletop will have to go through PWAS, and then we'll have to have our own. And like I said, there's the year in review, if you would like to read it. We need to revise our agreement. We had an agreement with the medical director that's been changed because of the new Long-Term Care Act, so we have to have a new agreement. They have to revisit the vaccination policy because the government told us. We have to have an agreement for shared coordinator with Castle Home to save money. And finally, ministry update must continue screening and masking. So if you go, you still have to get a nose swab, wait 15 minutes and see if you're healthy enough. And so it continues to be interesting. So I don't get my next swab till Thursday. So, because if you go in 3 times a week, you only need twice, but when you go in once a week, you need it every time you go in. So that's what's going on in East Home, and that's where your tax bucks are going. On a brighter note, Canada Day and soccer. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our recreation committee. I'd like to congratulate the committee members who joined us for the playground dedication. And I'll echo my comments of the day when I noted our staff, rec committee and council for the work in getting the playground equipment. I appreciate the committee and volunteers who were there doing everything from setting up, organizing games, cutting cake, and generally promoting Nipissing and Canada Day. And tonight is also the last night of soccer. And if they need any help on Saturday, I know there's people available. And I thank Shelley Foote, who was down at soccer right now, and the other rec committee members who were there with their recruits and volunteers to supply an excellent soccer opportunity for the first time in Nipissing. So congrats to them. And if you were at the fireworks, you and 20,000 mosquitoes, as always, thanks to the fire chief and the fire department for being there. They supplied fire education during the day. They had a static display and the most excellent fireworks display. There were people there from Callender, North Bay, whatever. They said ours was as good as North Bay. So, you know, feathering their hat to the fire department for doing that. And too bad Will's at soccer doing something else. But if he reads minutes, he'll hear that. If he doesn't, I just wasted my breath. So if there are no questions, we will move on. And I've conveniently misplaced the agenda. So anyway, I think we're at adopting the minutes for the council meeting held June 21st. So I need a mover and seconder. I'll go with Councillor Kirky and Councillor Luer. So it's R 2022-143, moved by Councillor Kirky, seconded by Councillor Moore, that the minutes of the council meeting held June 21st, 2022 be adopted as published. All in favor? Carried. And thanks as always for getting all that out. Thank you. Number 6, the municipal insurance renewal. Oh. Fine. So, first of all, when it comes to insurance, we'll just open with inexcusable, okay? Possibly the, most expensive, most whatever that we face. And the bad news is there's not a damn thing we can do about it, okay? Insurance is a rip. The only good thing is we've checked some other councils and they're all around 15 to 18% increase. East Home was over 20% increase because of COVID. They were 23%. I checked, our coverage hasn't lessened. Our building values have increased, so that, I mean, it's an increase of 14,000. So because of the increase in some of our equipment. So that takes away a little from the 16% increase. It's still 16%. We expected it. We're close to the budgeted amount because again, it's just a guess. And I'm glad to know staff, they went through this line by line, insured item by item, and page by page to the letter. So we've got every savings we can get short of starting to cut. And I don't think we want to cut anything because if we do, you know what replacement value is going to be. We're going to pay. So, you know, it is what it is. And we've also talked to AMO, and that was one of the resolutions we looked at. And AMO was going to come back to us and all townships and say, this is what we need to do, and they're petitioning the government. But in the meantime, pay up, pay up and shut up. So I think we have a resolution.
And the insurance will also increase with the playground, but it hasn't been included yet because this came in before we had the playground. I don't know how much that will go up yet.
Will that go in this year's insurance?
Effective the day we opened it.
Okay, so it'll be prorated to the day we open.
So I need a mover and a seconder for insurance. Councilor Marchant, Councilor Moore. It's number 2022-144, moved by Councilor Marchant, seconded by Councilor Moore, that we approve the 2022-2023 municipal insurance as presented by BrokerLink Incorporated and Intact Public Entities. All in favor? Reluctantly carried. Number 7, procedural bylaw updates. We made a few changes from what we looked at a couple of weeks ago. I think main one
Page 11 is the new ones.
to what?
Page 11, section 4.5. We changed the wording some more.
Okay. 4.5. The one thing we noted, the Municipal Act has rules that govern us, and they are way more open than might be suggested. I think in that it was,
In the original draft that we had circulated, it was if you missed 3 council meetings consecutively without permission, you would be declared vacant. But municipal act says after 3 months, so we have to go by the 3 months.
Yeah.
So that was the amendment that I sent out that was highlighted in green. That did email that one out.
and we've talked to the Municipal Act and yeah. And again, this looks like it will work, you know. They had questions about Zoom meetings. In the Zoom meetings, you'll notice where it says camera on because they don't know who else is in the room. You may be under the gun to do what you're doing at a Zoom meeting. So that's why they suggested cameras on. These were the little things that we tweaked in here since the last meeting. So if anybody has any questions, please bring them up.
I just have the one question, maybe I'm not reading this right, on the amended part that you sent out. Where it says that in accordance with the municipal act, electronic participation by council and its committees shall be permitted in open session subject to the following. A, unless a municipal, provincial, or federal emergency declaration is in place requiring all members to attend electronically. A minimum of only one member may attend the meeting by means of, what do you mean by that?
Only one member of council would attend electronically and the rest would be expected to be in.
So if
attendance.
2 were sick, 2 had
Then
COVID
council can
symptoms,
set that aside.
we'd have to,
And see, that's in there where if,
yes, I saw that
Yeah.
part, but I just,
yeah, no, so,
okay.
but, you know, it's not, yeah, I'm not coming back from vacation for another 2 weeks,
Yeah,
you know. So then, you know, hopefully the other person is there and not Zooming.
yeah, I guess it covers a little bit of that.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I
That
just
was
want,
the only question I had with you.
Yeah.
I had written down some potential stuff, but this basically answers all of it. Chris and I had talked to this
Mentioned you had
earlier,
chatted.
and, yeah, it answers, and it fulfills everything that I thought that it should have anyway, so. All in that.
My only concern, and I voiced it last time, was if we go to total Zoom meetings and it's not an emergency, it opens us up to
Yep.
any time, any place, anywhere. And I feel it's really important to be able to see you and have you in person versus you zooming in from God knows where. You know,
Yeah.
you're representing the township, and I hope you're gonna be in the township when you represent them.
I think we could have people that want to move the country for 3 to 6 months. How can they represent you properly if they're not here? How can they sit on the boards and committees if they're not here?
Yep, I agree.
Covered, yeah.
So I think it's covered, because if that's the case and we're unhappy with it, we'll say, no, you are here.
Yeah.
Or you have, there's always another option, you know?
Mhm.
So we've given them an option, and we'll go from there. So if there's no other comments or questions, we need a motion and mover and second. You two gentlemen, so Counselor Scott and Counselor Kirky. It's number R 2022-145, moved by Counselor Scott, seconded by Counselor Kirky, that we pass bylaw number 2022-34, being a bylaw to establish rules governing the proceedings of council, the callings of meetings, and the conduct of members. Read first, second, and third time, and passed this 12th day of July 2022. All in favor? Carried. Okay, correspondence. Did everybody go through the correspondence? See the letter from Boston Union Library, Mayor Peter Piper. It just happens to be my brother. I put on a wrong name and said to Marie to forward it to my brother.
Did you really?
You know, I just wrote it on here, but I still think I'll give it to her. So again, they thank us for paying our library bill. And,
The thing you're using a form letter, you can probably give it to Peter there.
Yeah.
yep, well, at least they, we didn't get McIsaac's. Number 2, from Brighton. And I read it over and I've looked, I had to ask what the Draven alert was. I don't believe it's a provincial item. This person was autistic and wandered away. If you watch City TV, probably every day, they have an alert for people my age who have wandered away and they're looking for them. And it's an enhanced local alert. I think this Draven alert, if we start doing that for everybody that wanders away, the I don't think the Amber Alert's worth anything, because as it is, people bitch when it's somebody, let's say in Windsor, and we get it up here. But if we're getting half a dozen a day for people wandering away, so my feeling is not to support this, but I'm at your beck and call.
You have to think of the little boy that cried wolf. If we get too many, people are allowed to turn off their.
Yep.
Stop, just tune it out. And
You're
not even listen, and it could be a local.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it might overwhelm the system too.
When people try to shut it off, they don't even want to listen to it anymore.
Yeah, that's what I do.
The other thing is too, with autistic children, I mean, roundabout way, I suppose a parent could say, we don't know who's disappeared out of my yard, I mean, they could put it on there too. I don't think Amber Alert just works for actually seeing that the child was snatched, so there are roundabout ways to get in, to get that looked at in the Amber Alert system. That's my opinion anyway.
The other thing is, if I wander away, I'm gonna be in this locale.
Yes.
So if that's broadcast to Windsor, like Tom says, turn it off.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the municipality of Shania. And there's a council resolution behind it from. Okay, so I looked into this. This is already above our heads. It's already before the legislature. And you notice, looking down, about the sixth one down, because a lot of these homes, there's a lack of clarity from religious groups. And the federal government is asking them for this access. And I think we just support the federal government in this. And this is something that Chris has brought up to us. If you notice at the bottom, it's not this one, but other ones go to AMO. And then
This one
all,
does, on the other side.
yeah. So I think in some cases, we could get 16 of these a meeting. If we go through them all, it's going to be pretty onerous. My suggestion is, if it's going to AMO, let it go to AMO. They'll come back with a recommendation, and then we support that, whatever. So I just bring that up for the future. For this one again, we'll look at AMO. The next one for West Lincoln, I don't know what, I tried to look it up, but I don't know what the water pipe smoking bylaw is.
Yeah, I couldn't figure that either.
So that becomes an information item, and we thank West Lincoln very much.
They've also asked AMO to look into it, so hopefully we'll have some clarity at some point.
The next one, Tweed. Now, this is more in our, I'm gonna say Ballywick. And it comes down to Tweed on 2. And I checked here, we have been fortunate that we haven't had a claim, but that's just good luck. One, right?
Well, we had two claims at that one same farm.
But that was a few years ago. Now.
Few
We've
years,
been,
yeah.
we've been in really good shape
Yeah.
since.
And it was the two, one I did, one Shannon did.
So with this, with this administration fee on wildlife claims, I asked Chris and I said, is it an onerous task? We've got a ton of paperwork now. I said, is it an onerous task? In which case the fee should go up to cover that. We've been lucky, we haven't, but I think you were gonna run out of good luck, and I think
There are
we
many
should,
more small farmers around.
Yeah, and I mean,
The
even-
only thing is one have to have a farm business number too, which will
okay.
cut down a lot.
So I think that so the increase is warranted, so that I would suggest that in the next one, we just say we support this. Is that,
Like 3.5 hours, I get, that must have included the investigator and the office staff, everybody.
Because one of our investigations would take that
You know,
incomplete.
Well,
Everything's
time like that, I
reported.
drove up here
Mhm.
and back, and then time to do the report there, and then the staff do theirs.
No, they have also asked that AMO create support for it too.
Right.
So
I think it's something we should.
Yep. Next one, we have a letter from a roofing company. I've looked at it, I'm sure all of you have read this as well. The problem we have right now is we're down staff. We're gonna talk about this later. We're just down staff. And we have staff that are working 12-hour days, so many days. I don't want overtime to go out of whack. And we've all discussed that before.
Kind of read the letter here, but some of these other places only have one landfill and it's only open very limited number of days a week. Where in Nipissing, I think the landfills are open a total of 6 days out of 7.
It'd be 3 days at Wolf Lake, though, if you bring changes.
But there's 2 options where they can go, right? There's two landfills.
No.
No,
Only take them.
Can only take shingles to Wolf Lake.
Okay, I forgot.
Like, isn't there private place in like Arroyo? We used to take it to a private company that was there 7 days a week, and the cost was no different than the municipal waste disposal. You know,
I'm not aware of
I
any.
wonder.
There's nobody
if you looked
recycles.
into bringing a bin. And having it picked up. And some places do recycle, but the shingles,
It's too costly up here.
yeah, like shipping, that's good. Same time, it might be an alternative, the company that don't provide them with a bin.
Well, I think after we look at our staffing, our staffing requirements, right now for $30 for a load of shingles. Councillor Moore was pointing out how 2 pieces of carpet cost you $50.
I presume that load of shingles for $30 was just like a half ton. Small
no,
trailer.
it's,
5.
No, I could fit 2 little pieces in the back seat of my vehicle. 50 and you go with the little shingles to 30, there's something wrong with that.
I wasn't thinking like a one truck load of shingles.
No, a dump trailer.
the bylaw says 5-ton dump trailer and under $30 per shingles.
I think that's. we have to
And
look
you
that
gotta
over.
bring your carpet in a 5 dump trailer.
Yeah, could I put it in with some shingles?
But Swanson was mentioned, and I'd like to say they had twice the staff we had. And for things like that, they don't have twice the staff anymore. I'll be talking to Mayor McIsaac to see how they're doing it now, just because they've let a lot of staff go lately, and they've tightened up their dump rules. I know that for a fact, because I went there. So all we can do right now, I would suggest, is we're gonna have to look at our staffing concerns before we can look at that, because right now, if our guys are off or at one of the other dumps or working on Birch Grove, it's gonna cost more than $50 for them to quit, drive there, open the dump, come back, and then come back. And pardon me for saying dump, landfill.
And if we're only getting $30 for the load. We're getting 300 for the load, it would help compensate. Paying for some stuff.
So we are in agreement that we will look at this after staffing, when we see what costs
I think
are
that's a
incurred.
good idea.
Do roofers have to get a building permit in township to do
No,
thing? Because I know most other ones need a building permit.
we don't do it under the building permit. We do have an affidavit that the homeowner, the property owner is supposed to fill out on behalf.
So they are,
Maybe that's where you can put your fee then, put it right there.
maybe, but we can look at this after we look at staffing then. So I guess then we will look at that when we go to closed session in number 10. which brings us to, I think the next one I had there was Golden Sunshine Municipal Nonprofit. And it was just information item. Nothing out of the order, that kind of stuff, but they are gonna have an audit there as well. And I don't believe there's anything else that we have for correspondence. So we can look at that when we get to closed session. So I need a motion to accept correspondence. Okay, Councilor Moore and Scott. Because Councilor Scott can't do the next one. It's number R 2022-146, moved by Councilor Moore, seconded by Councilor Scott, to accept the correspondence as presented. All in favor? Carried. Okay. So James. Thank you. Statements of accounts dated June 23rd, July 7th, 8th, and 12th.
There was an amendment that I left on
Mhm.
everyone.
I just have one question, Chris, and I should have mentioned at the board meeting the other day. The hydro was $236. That's more than 1 month.
They did adjustments for a whole bunch of the bills we were watching.
Okay, all right.
That are community centers are
Oh.
huge, so a whole bunch of people actually called the office and said that they were getting adjustments on their bills as well.
Okay.
They do a standard adjustment every July anyway, don't they?
I believe so.
That's mine, standard adjustment.
Mine's red every month, so.
But up here, they don't have the cell service and they're no risk that there's been some issues, especially with some cottages. They didn't tell me. We are keeping an eye on it. It's on our radar.
I don't know.
Was there any question, the impacts there? Yeah.
Oh, what was the training for the fire department? Do you know what that is?
We have one firefighter who went through for several of the larger courses.
One fire?
Mhm. Yeah. See the closing of the Gravenhurst facility.
Yeah.
has really changed how
That's
Yeah. That would have been $68 a day.
it doesn't even include the time complement for that individual. Wow. Mhm.
Man.
Yep.
His study time wasn't compensated. So we spent a lot of time. with that
Oh, I'm
individual.
sure, yeah.
Spent a lot of time sitting there doing a lot of studying. And what Mr. Mayor says, in the old days, we had Gravenhurst open. It was quite a bit cheaper.
it for me.
Any other questions? Okay,
Chris putting those notes on.
yeah,
I've been
that's,
trying to do that.
okay, so we need to move to the seconder. Okay, I'll go to Councilor Marchant and Councilor Moore. Number R 2022-147, moved by Councilor Marchant, seconded by Councilor Moore, that statement of accounts dated June 23rd and July 7th, 8th, and 12th, 2022, totaling $326,777.99 be approved. All in favor? Carried. Okay. So I do know you're Mr. Barber, I don't know. We have to go to closed session now, if you don't mind. And if you happen to be here over the previous correspondence, right now, that's what we're looking at. It costs us more to open the landfill, pardon me, than
You would pay this, extra $50 for opening it up, on top of the WB.
for $50, it wouldn't make it worth the while to drive from Birch Grove to the dump, open it up. What would it take, half an hour to unload?
Don't you? 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay, not Mark Purvis dump trailer. So, yeah, so I don't think it would cover it, so that's what we will look at as manpower and
They could be
Perhaps.
working down on Ponderosa Road,
Yeah, we're all.
and then you come from 522
Right.
all the way up here to the gate, turn around and go all the way back.
Yeah, but if you put your rates up, like North Bay, it's almost $100 a ton. So you put your rates up and your $50 means nothing to send a guy to the gate.
okay, well, we will discuss that.
And can I just say one more thing? Like
No, you can't,
Oh, sorry.
unfortunately, unless you ask for a delegation.
Oh, sorry.
But I think we understand what you're saying. I hope we do. And I assume it's your letter.
Yes.
Okay, and we will look at it for manpower and time and that kind of thing. And I will reach out to Powassan and see what they are going to do in the future as well. And I will ask somebody else, what happens in the town of Callender? What do you do?
We have to go to North Bay.
Okay. So I'll reach out to Al and see what they charge in North Bay. So thank you. I hope you didn't waste your time. We did hear your letter. We did read it and we've all considered it. And now we will look at staffing issues. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Have a good night. So for closed session, we shut down the computer. And we make a motion. So I need a mover and a seconder. And I'll go to the other side, Counselor Kirky and Counselor Scott. It's number R 2022-148, moved by Counselor Kirky, seconded by Counselor Scott. This part of our meeting will be closed to the public as authorized by section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001 C25 for consideration of the following subject matter. B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employee. This is a discussion of vacant staff position. The time is 7:25 p.m. All in favor? Carried. I'm sorry, I can't give them the floor because of the procedural bylaw that we
Here we are.
I don't want my turkeys today.
Okay, we're going to resume to an open public meeting. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Thank you, Counselor Turkey. Counselor Scott. It's number R21T22-149, moved by Counselor Turkey, seconded by Counselor Scott, that we resume to an open public meeting at 8:04 PM. All in favor? Carried. And we'll wrap this up. So confirming bylaw, mover and seconder, Counselor Moore and Marchant, thank you. It's number R2022-150, moved by Counselor Moore, seconded by Counselor Marchant, that we pass bylaw number 2022-37, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on July 12th, 2022, read the first, second, and third time, and passed this 12th day of July, 2022. All in favor? Carried. Last but not least, a mover and the seconder, please. Counselor Moore and Counselor Turkey, thank you. This is number R2022-151. Moved by Counselor Moore, seconded by Counselor Turkey, that the meeting be adjourned at 8:05 PM. The next regular meeting to be held August 16th, 2022. All in favor? Carried. Thank you all. This will be the biggest
I know you don't
gap
have
for a
time,
while.
so
Enjoy.
it's nice to have, you know, work some of those machines.
August 16th. That'd be at 6 o'clock there as well.
I'm just gonna put it right here. Item on John Paul.
It'll be gone, but that's gonna come back.
I'm still using
Go home
my,
and put one in my book again.
I'm still using my Paul funeral home. pen. We'll make a booking. Get free pen. No, I talked to him and